Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. So my talk is Anand Karaj sanskar, Hana. All of the other 4 sanskars are compulsory. This one is not compulsory. Right? You don't have to do it if you don't want to. There's a good reason for doing it, there's a good reason for not doing it. Hopefully we can spark some discussion, something will come about this, right? Now I'm going to ask you a question, and this question is in celebration of Easter. If you get it right, you will get a belated Easter egg, maybe, right? Okay. And remember, the talk is to do with Anand Karaj. So, what happened to this person? Very good. Who was that? Who was that? Who was that? Correct. Yeah, Mr. Parna there, he knows, right? Okay. Let's get a little bit more serious because I want something else for you to say from this. What emotion is he feeling? Shock, right? Shock, right? That's not also what I wanted, but it's close, because what I wanted you to deduce from this is that he is scarred for life. How you were meant to get that, I don't know, but he is scarred for life, right? When you're scarred for life, it does not mean you have like a Harry Potter scar or anything else. And if something happens to you and it remains with you, so that could even be a car accident. That trauma, it doesn't finish there, does it? You lose a loved one, that stays with you for life. And let's move on. For those of us that have been to the beaches here, or for those of us that go on holiday and have been to nicer beaches, right? Those beaches are like dunes, and they look like paper when you look at them. But the minute you walk on them and you look back, right, you've left like an imprint or something. And if there's like a wet beach or something and you do that, and that imprint's there for a long time, like if the sand is wet, car goes through it or something as well. So that's what a sanskar is like. So that, like that person that was shocked, or like this imprint, right? These sanskars, these panch sanskars, they're going to transcend your life. So the Anand Karaj isn't that 1 or 2 hours that you sit in Maharaj's Darbar, or 3 or 4 or 5 hours, depending on what you do and what you have planned for that day. But generally speaking, what I'm trying to say is, Anand Karaj sanskar, it lasts. All of these sanskars last. Has anyone in the talks explained what a sanskar is? Any ideas on what a sanskar is? Any ideas on what a sanskar is? Hanji? Shuddh karna, to make pure. Okay. But sanskar, like, let's not go that deep into it just yet. Sanskar in Punjabi, like the way that, our parents would use it or something, right? It's a rite of passage. It's a rite of passage. Gursikhi de vich, and the reason that it's a spiritual affair, and the Khalsa have Panch Sanskar, is because we believe that these sanskars, like that person that is scarred for life, like that train track thing, they leave an imprint on you. So they go with you. So, for example, in schools, some children are naturally talented. It's a fact, right? Some children pick up things quicker, and other kids pick up things not so quick. I don't really know in a lot of contexts, but I can tell you santhya taur te, tusi kei lokan nu santhya karao, kei bachchiyan nu santhya karao, right? And their akkars don't chal. You can try and try and try until like Maharaj just kirpa, next, like they do a lot of practice, the akkars don't chal. Some kids on the other hand, it's like they're giving you santhya. They're giving you santhya. It doesn't really make sense. We've all experienced it, things like deja vu. We go somewhere and we feel like we've been there before. Some people, some children, especially in India, it's documented a lot. Some of the things is like hoaxes, like, they say that someone was born with a tail, so they're Hanuman. No, that's just a deformity. But other things are like, they can remember what pend they came from, and they say that I want to go to that pend, and this was my parent, and this, that, the other, and they remember for a stage, and then they forget about it. Matlab kehne da eh that memory, it stays, right? There is evidence to suggest that from this reincarnation thing and people remembering and deja vu and all of these things, like that scar for life, but that scar is only for life. And at that train track, it's not going to, or that car track or whatever on the sand, it's not going to last forever. Jire khalse de panch sanskar, they last forever. Otherwise, there wouldn't be no point, right? You take Amrit, right? And we say Amrit is such a big thing. But I'm looking at it from like non-Sikh perspective. If you just think for 1 second, you take Amrit, and lots of Amritaris mess up, and they get on the path and they mess up, and then you die, right? Fiqh, that means that Amrit was nothing. Amrit has no power. That's not true, because Amrit is a sanskar, and that is still going to go with you in your next life. It will continue, you'll get the kirpa from it because it continues. So vidya sanskar, that stays with you, these sanskars stay with you. That's my point. How do they stay with you? Right? There's this question of who I am. Lots of different religions have interpretations of who I am. Some have interpretations that I'm nothing. Sikhi de vich you have a soul. That soul is the form of Vaheguru. It's the purest of the pure. But until you have self-realization, which we call Brahmagyan, you have these 4 things: Man, Chit, Buddh, Hankar. I think Bhai Singh ji covered them in their talk as well. These are like 4 aspects of who I am. So you know all these things, like Plato I think said, if I'm thinking, so I am, or words to that effect. Je main sochda hai, there's the evidence that I exist, that and I'm a being, and that this isn't just an illusion, is because I'm thinking. He said things like that. These ideas are present in Gurbani, that you are 4 things. They define who you are. Man, your mind. The mind has sankalp and vikalp. Thought comes in, thought comes out, thought comes in, thought comes out. It's not stable. You have Chit, which is your memory. Buddh, intellect. So whether you chose to go to Amrit Villa this morning, I chose not to, that is your intellect. You make right and wrong decisions. Hankar is your ego, and that's not like the Panj Chor Vishay Vikar ego. This is like, I'm speaking right now and you are listening. Hopefully you're listening, but that perception that I'm speaking and that perception that you're listening is actually it's a veil, it's an illusion, and Hankar, ego, is causing that. Actually what's happening is, Ambani is saying it, aap katha, aap sunne haar. That aap hi katha karda, aap hi sunda hai. It's Vaheguru that's working in all of us, but we don't really understand that, because we have these veils of Man, Chit, Buddh, Hankar. And sometimes, we ask, what is Brahmagyan? Brahmagyan is when you destroy all 4 of these. These 4 finish, then you're Vaheguru. These are like the sheaths on top of Vaheguru, on top of your soul. But irrelevant to this talk and all the talks, like an overarching gal, your sanskar affects your memory. So you might have, scientifically, you might know this, right? There's a great proportion of your brain that we don't use. We don't use it, it's just, it looks like it's dead. Science doesn't know where it is. Now, I'm not saying that's where the Chit lives physically, but it could be that that's the store of memories, that utte sab kuch hega, and when you get another brain, right, and that's where Maharaj plants the Chit again. So the sanskars have an effect on your Chit. They transcend this life. Christians have a really good sabah, and because it's like an Easter camp, I'm going back to this idea of Jesus, I don't know why, but Christians, they do this, and I envy it. They look at history, they look at their history, they might not even, Gore, right? They're not Christians, half of them. They still use these terms, don't they? BC and AD, before Christ, and AD, after the year of my Lord. Matlab, Rab nu manno chai na manno, you still man that Jesus was a really big figure and he had a lot of change. He must have done something. The truth of it is that about 800 to 1,000 years magaro, a church was made. We're only like sort of 550 years down, and look at the difference that we've made. Look at what we've achieved as a people, as a nation, as a Sikh Panth. But we don't say sort of, B, S, G, N, D, S, J, so before Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji. One, it's not convenient to say that, right? But number 2, we don't even think about it. We don't think about the difference before Guru Nanak Dev Ji and after Guru Nanak Dev Ji. And before Guru Nanak Dev Ji, there were 2 things, and to me they appear like 2 sets of dominoes. One is Varan, the caste system, right? And not to confuse anyone, because you might go home and you might say, Mummy ne to mainu kiya si I belong to this caste, but you said there's only 4 castes. Mummy is also right, mums are never wrong. But the thing is that in a jatan de vich, there's lots of sub-castes. So you can be a Brahman and you can be like something else, like you can be a Vash and be something else as well. So anyways, there was these 4 castes. At the advent of time, beginning of time, when man got civilized, so I'm guessing these are like in India we're talking about, people were expected to do 4 things, all 4 things, but eventually what happened was that people took on one role each. And these roles were Brahman, education; Kshatri, to fight, to be soldiers, to have power, and to rule over people; Vaishya, to earn a living, be business people, do the economic side of things, farming, carpentry, all of that; and Shudras, it's like parakrita hai. You'd work for other people, but it's not like how we work for other people. It was like, they say they were servants, but they were like untouchables and slaves, because you weren't really paid for it properly. You know, if you're born a chura, you're expected to clean the toilets. So it's not like, I'm not saying that garbage people here or people that collect bins are lower people, right? But those people have a choice to do that job. And you can respect them for what vocation they're doing. But you lose self-respect when you say this is the only vocation that you can do, that's what you're able to do. So that's what society was like. Now this might seem strange to you. I don't think it's a bad idea. I don't think the caste system is actually, there's much wrong with it. Why? Because these are like the 4 pillars of society, isn't it? You learn things, education, you need soldiers and you need a government, right? You need people to earn a livelihood, and you need social services, don't you, to serve people. The only problem with this system, you know, apart from, I'm not talking from a person, personally it's wrong for people. As a society, it still works, you got all 4 things in it, but it's like that dominoes. One person in the whole thing says, I don't want to do this, the whole thing comes collapsing down. Evidence of that, the Brahmin said, we're only going to educate our children. Then the Kshatri said, well, do one, we don't want to get your education, and now we're only going to be Kshatris and going to fight battles. And that happened, and eventually everyone just took on one role. Fir ki hoya? Buddhism, Jainism and Sannyasi religion. 3 religions come into India, like huge movements come into India, and they are pacifists. All the Kshatris, right, listening to Mahatma Buddha and Mahavir and all the sannyasis like Dattatreya and everyone, they take all of their weapons, they go to the rivers and they throw them in the rivers, that we don't need to be Shastratari anymore. And Sadhguru Gobind Singh Ji ne kya hai na, bina shastrang narang ped jano. And without shastra, no people to be like sheep. And that's not just a gull, is it? Right? It's true, isn't it? The Mughals came, right, like a shepherd or a lion, and all these sheep, they were flocked together and they were made slaves for the next 800 years, just because the dominoes collapsed. Shri Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj didn't abolish the caste system. They made a 5th caste. They made their own castes. Now that seems strange. You know, these castes, they're not allowed to exchange jute. Each caste has one dress code. Each caste has a role. Guru da Khalsa can't exchange jute with anyone else as well. So Maharaj has actually not abolished the caste system. They've rejected it and made their own superior caste, in which they, because sometimes that's what people say about Amritaris, isn't it? The jute nahi shakde, vivek rakhde, you know, it's a bit separate. But the truth of the gal is that was Guru Kalgitar Ji's aim, to make us supreme. But you can be a part of this caste not by birth. You have to do it by your karam, by your actions, and then you have to remain in that cycle for life to be a part of that caste. And Guru da Sikh, he's all 4 things at the same time, and he can focus on any one of them for your spirituality as well. So this is Kavi Santokh Singh Ji. For those of you that were in the Q&As, there was a focus on reading our Itihas, Gur Pratap Suraj Granth, Kavi Santokh Singh Ji, right? Baba Banda Singh Ji Bahadur, I mentioned them in the Katha. They established the first Sikh Raj, Shastra de Bal Dinar. This is Bhai Lalo Tarkhan, the carpenter whose house Shri Guru Nanak Dev, you must have seen the picture, right, of Shri Guru Nanak Dev Ji. They're holding like 2 rotiyan, there's blood coming out of one and milk coming out of one. That was a Sakhi with Bhai Lalo Tarkhan. This one, Nawab Kapoor Singh Ji, is especially interesting, right? So you know how like the government or the Queen gives people knighthoods? And we'd get happy if we got a knighthood, but or an MBE. And there's Sikhs, right, just because they've got a title, they think there's something, Nawab Kapoor Singh nu kya ki tuhanu Nawabi deni hai? And he goes, no, because I do seva, and then you guys are going to say that I'm your Nawab, I can't do the seva. What seva do you do? He does something like what the Shudras would do. He picks up horse dung, ਘੋੜਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਸੇਵਾ ਕਰਦਾ ਆ, ਹਨਾ? And that Sikh says no, but the Sikhs go, ਤੈਨੂੰ ਨਵਾਬੀ ਦੇਣੀ ਆ. So he gets the Nawabi on the condition that you don't stop me from doing that. So ਜਿਹੜਾ Guru ਦਾ Sikh ਆ, for him, people, these Brahmins and stuff, they don't wash their own pande and stuff. and they don't wash each other's pande. As Guru they Sikh, we wash each other's pande. That doesn't make us like, cleaners and stuff. We wash the path for Satguru Sahib Ji. That doesn't make us like domestic cleaners and that sort of things. Asi fir vi uche bande are doing whatever we do. Katha Kirtan karde we don't become higher, we still in the Sangat. So that's Varan. More relevant to this talk is Ashram. Ashram is this idea that you need to go through different stages of life in order to get to Vaheguru. Until the age of 24, you must remain brahmachari, which means completely celibate. You must go to a gurukul from the age of from about 6 till about 24, right? You must do that. After that, to progress your spirituality, think about it. We after 24 you get a degree or around that age. There's slight difference, like you don't have that much restriction. Think about it though, 24 years, day and night, because education here only happens a few days a week. Education in India happens every day, every night for 18, 19 hours of the day. You've done all of that, do all of that. After doing all of that, okay, don't worry about it, forget all of that, now go and be Gristi. Be a Gristi, spend time with your wife, your family, everything, right? By the age of 48, right? So, that's the age when we look, right, that we think that we should be financially secure by that age. As worldly people, I think about it that you want everything to be chilling. You want to be happy so that you have a happy retirement. This lot don't have no concept of that. They say at 48, leave your house and go and be Van Prasti. Go to the jungles, right? Go to the jungles, do some bhakti. But if you get sad, that's okay. You can come home too. That's a mind problem. Like, it's going to play with your mind. It's going to play with your mind. You're going to go to the jungles. You're going to do bhakti. You're going to miss home. You're going to come back. How is that going to work? Then at 72, right? At 72, you might be in a wheelchair, you might have dementia, you might not be able to eat yourself. You can't even come back home, you have to stay in the jungle now. What sort of rule is that? What if you die at any of these stages? Or what if you mess up in any of these stages? If before the age of 24, you fall in love, let's say, and you get kicked out of the Gurukul, then what are you supposed to do for the next 6-7 years, right? If as a Gristi, right, something happens and you have to leave that Gristi for some reason, let's say, then what happens to you? What if you die in that process, 48 to 72, and now you've got grandchildren and everything? Does it make sense for you to go and come back? Is this what you've lived your life for? Maharaj rejected all of this. It's a sham, and it's like dominoes again. One step you mess up, your whole life is messed up. Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj is the first Satguru or the first avatar in the world of their kind, right? And I say that with like a style, like a disclaimer thing, right? Islam is a totally other version when it comes to Gristi and marriage of messed up. Fact, like that's not even in an offensive way, but that's true, and we can discuss that more in the questions and stuff. That's different. But generally, all religions, right, they encourage celibacy. And the people of the religion, the prophets, so the Devi Devte, they could have 6, 12, 18, there's 30 crore Devi Devte. How did they get to that, population? They got married and had lots and lots and lots of kids. And then they tell everyone else that you got to be sannyasi and all of these things. It don't make no sense. So religions encourage it. Buddhist monks, you have, Christian nuns, they say that we're married to Jesus. No, you're not married. You're not married. It's not, it's not like that. You can be spiritual, but to reject marriage completely and say that, we can't get married physically is a completely different game. Now, the problem that people had with Guru Nanak Dev Ji was not that they were married, because a lot of the prophets and Devi Devte were married, was that they told Sikhs to get married. And they did it as a spiritual thing. They didn't do it that if you feel weak, then get married. They said, you can get married, you can get married. And they meet with the heads of religion everywhere. They even came as far as the Vatican. Shri Guru Nanak Dev Ji, Bhai Gurjeet Singh Ji in that katha said that Guru Nanak Dev Ji, that they without a shadow of a doubt believe that they came to this country. And It makes sense, doesn't it? Bhai Gurdas doesn't lie. Bhai Gurdas says, Babbe Tare Char Chak Nau Khand Prithvi Sacha Toa. Nau Khand means 9 continents. India is 1 continent, but Guru Nanak Dev Ji must have gone to all 9 if Bhai Gurdas has said it. So Guru Nanak Dev Ji meets 2 types of people. One is people that have a lot of devotion, like the Bhai Lalo Tarkhan. Number 2 type of people are the heads of religion, because that's where Satguru Sahib Ji could make change and make them think about their actions. Or if Maharaj, if they're not going to change because they're so egotistical, at least their followers will change. Maharaj has this conversation with the Siddhs, and the Siddhs are at like the age of 500 and stuff. And if you're going to live until 500, you can tell someone to go through those 4 stages. It's fine. It's completely fine, because 72 is nothing, and it's a quarter. It's not even a quarter of your life, and it's nothing. If you've got a life that's about 60, how can you make a process that's 72 years long? And Shri Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj was Gristi, and this is what they said to Guru Nanak Dev Ji. This is an insult. You must have seen, or you might know, right? If you boil milk and you put vinegar or nimbu or fatkadi or something into that milk, what happens to that milk? It splits, like some of the things are looking at. That's how paneer is made. And that's how paneer is made. But what that residue that's left behind, you can't make that dud again. So what they were saying to Guru Nanak Dev Ji was, we've heard great things about you, that the snakes gave shadow over you, tusi jitte pende sige, kheti hari ho jandi si, all these things would happen. But now you had that milk, now you put vinegar in it by getting married. Puchha jogi pangarnath, tohe dudh vich kyo kanji pai, why have you ruined your opportunity, why have you spoiled that milk? And so that was like a cuss. And you'll see later on what Satguru Sahib Ji says back, and he can't say anything back to that. This was their perception of Gristi. And if some of us are married, or sometimes it can become like that, can't it? And I'm not telling my spouse or anyone that's at this camp as well. So Gristi, they perceived it as a daldal, like a whirlpool or quicksand. You get into it, you can't get out, there's no way of coming out. That's what they perceived it as. But Guru Sahib is ghar bari hoye vartya, ghar bari sikh pairi paya. That aap vi ghar bar wale hoye, they were family person, but not like us. And all 10 paatshahiyaan were Gristi. Now someone might be a bit smart, and like those clever people, and they'll say, no, Guru Har Krishna Sahib Ji wasn't Gristi because they were an infant. Yeah, that's why, because they were an infant. It's not like they rejected the system and they went on and to be Van Prasti and all of these other different things. They were still in the Gristi system. All our 10 paatshahiyaan were in this system. Ghar bari hoye vartya, ghar bari sikh pairi paya, and Sikhan nu vi ghar wale banaya. They saw marriage as a worldly affair, and this is the perception difference between Shri Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj and the world, right? The world sees, and what Guru Nanak Dev Ji says is that marriage and relationships cannot just be worldly. At the end of the day, God got married. God got married. You're probably thinking, that doesn't make sense. Why did God get married, or who did God get married to, or what happened, right? God did get married. We read it in Japji Sahib every single day. Eka mai jugat vyai tin chele pravan. You know how we talk about opposites attracting? First question, what is Maya? What is Maya? Any ideas? What is Maya?
Anything that takes you away from God.
Theek hai. Anything else? Illusion, right? Anything else? Has anyone's parents ever used it to them? Not in a spiritual way, but has anyone's parents used that phrase at home? Money, right? Money. Okay? I'm hungry, that's a fact. That's a fact. And I've got some money in my pocket, right? Can that money feed me? Can my money feed me? Yeah. Right. Why can it feed me? I got money to buy something. But it's not like I can take that money, that coin or that note, and stuff it down my throat. That's not going to salivate my hunger, right? So money in itself is a dead entity, something that's not living. It's me, the living thing, that's giving something to it. That's how we got to understand Maya. Maya is all of those things, the illusion, what you said as well, Bhai Sahib, it's all of those things. But this is the definition of Maya, is asat, jad, te dukh roop. Asat is not true, it doesn't always remain. Jad, it is dead. And dukh, it gives sorrow. It gives sorrow, so when you try to earn it, you have to do so many things to earn money. And then afterwards, when you lose that money, when you spend it all, because it never remains, does it? You get dukh then too. Ondi vi dukh dindi, jandi vi dukh dindi. That is Maya. Vaheguru, and this is the word for Vaheguru, Brahm, that's name just for God, right? Sat Chit Anand, he is true, he is living, and he is the form of bliss. So he is the opposite of Maya. है ना? At the beginning of time, there was God. God from himself creates Maya. Maya is a dead entity. God has this relationship, like a spiritual, cosmic, godly marriage with Maya. And what is born? Tin Chele Pravan. The three modes of Maya are born: Rajogun, Satogun, Tamogun. And you can ask about these in more detail in the Q&As, but basically what they are, they're the three things that Vaheguru used to make this whole world. So everything is a composition of them three, or them, or two of them, or just one of them. You know how we have temperaments, right? Some people naturally get angry and destructive. Some people are naturally greedy and want more. And some people are naturally really peaceful. It's sometimes because one gun is more in us than another. But Maharaj says that we got to be Trigunatith. We got to get out of this cycle of the three modes of Maya. So this is like a cosmic godly marriage. Where does marriage begin, right? What is the first process in a marriage, right? Now is something else, but what should the first thing be? A proposal, an engagement. That's true to the world, isn't it? This is how the world does it. It's about me and you, husband and wife, and ek duje bareya, right? So they exchange rings and they do these sorts of things, right? Courting. Sikhi de vich, the first stage of a marriage is the kudmai, hai na? Kudmai, kudma da auna, when the two sides meet. And what is exchanged then is kakars, your kada, your kanga, and your kirpan. So straight away, this becomes about not me and you, but me and God, you and God, me, you and God. It's a bit complicated, much more, it's a much bigger thing than just me and you. It's not that simple. You must have seen this example loads of times. The lotus and the muddy water. Lots of talks, lots of prachar. Can someone just summarize, because I can see a lot of people nodding. What does the lotus and the muddy water mean? Anyone?
I think remain within a society that's maybe not pure. Remain pure yourself.
Yeah, that's it, right? So the lotus, you remain like that. It doesn't get no shitta. You know, it's in a lot of dirt, and not that marriage is dirt or filth, and it's not. That's not the point here, right? But as in, this world is like that muddy pond, and you got to remain like that lotus. Maharaj uses that term for gristi. Jyo jal meh kamal lipto varte, tyo viche girhe udas. You got to remain that in your gristi jeevan. So how does that work about? Guru Sahib led by example. Shri Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj, until the age of 28, right? They live in their house. They do some normal things, like some things aren't normal, like having a snake do shade over you and stuff. That's not normal. But they did normal things, like have a job. They did these. They did extraordinary things whilst having a job. But at the end of the day, they still did a job and things. And they did all of these things, right? And at 28, right? That's like when you settle down. Satguru Sahib Ji does the opposite. They settle out. They go on the char or dasiya, and that is different, and that is like that lotus and the muddy water. They're so detached from it. And there's a shabad. It's not easy, right? If Guru Sahib, it doesn't mean everyone around them is a Brahmgyani, and it doesn't mean that even if someone is a Brahmgyani, that Maharaj can't make you mortal to make itihas. Like, you know, Bhai Mardana feeling hunger and all of these things. Bhai Mardana is a Brahmgyani, right? Maharaj is just making him feel hungry and putting that cloud of illusion to make itihas. So Maharaj's wife, one of the Mail Mata Sulakhani ji, they obviously Jagat Mata, right? They are Brahmgyani, but at this stage, Maharaj has just made them like a normal wife. And when Satguru Sahib Ji is about to leave, Mataji kneels down, and to see, I encourage this, anyone wants to develop the love for Satguru Ji, read Shabd Hajare da Path. And in that Shabd Hajare da Path, there's one Shabd where Mata Sulakhani Ji, Godde par ho ke, Satguru Ji is about to leave, and they do benti, jiyo darta hai apna kaisyo kari pukar. I am scared, you're leaving me, what should I do? And then Satguru Sahib Ji gives them Brahmgyan, and they give them all this upadesh. But that is a different level of lotus and muddy water. That's what as Sikhs Maharaj is going to expect from us. Shri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji and Mata Jito Ji and Bhai Kuljit Singh Ji di Katha, they mentioned that prem that Satguru Sahib Ji had, that they made Lahore in the hills of Anandpur Sahib for Mata Jito Ji. That's prem, right? But look, let's look further. Mata Jito Ji is Satguru Sahib Ji's first male, and they live at Anandpur Sahib ji, and Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj sit in a kamra and do part, Simran, whatever they did, we don't know. They used to close the door. Mata Jito ji used to sit outside with a garland of flowers, wait for Satguru Sahib ji. Satguru Sahib ji would open the door, matha take desi, darshan kar desi, and they would put the garland of flowers. That's history, right? When you do part, Simran, or even yoga, you don't have to do, but obviously as Sikhs, we do part, seva, Simran, and these things come naturally to us. We don't have to try for them. Prabh ke Simran, Gyan, Dhyan, Tat Buddh, right? Mataji got this spirituality where she could see past, present, and future. So she's doing part one morning, Satguru Sahib Ji's inside, and what does she see? She sees that, so my father-in-law has already been executed. All 4 of my children will be killed, they will be made shaheed. All these things that do our seva, they will be made shaheed. My sas, who will reach the age of 84, she will be put into a cold chamber, and she will be shivering there. She sees all of this, Mata Jito ji sees all of this. And when Satguru ji comes out, Mata ji benti kar de ki Sache Pasha got one benti, if it's okay, what? Ke Satguru ji, main jana chahndi haan. Do I have to stay for all of this? And Satguru Sahib ji said, Jito ji, je thwadi eh ichha hai, that's fine, you can go, I can do this alone. But let's think of it on a worldly level. Sadde varga hunda, that's what we see marriage as, helping each other, being the shoulder. Theek hai, it's all of that, but it's something else, it's more than that too. If for the sake of spirituality, you have to make sacrifices between each other, then so be it. And if one person's spirituality is stronger than the other person's spirituality, or one person has to help the other person, then we've got to make those sacrifices for each other. So Satguru Sahib Ji says that Jito ji, asi janam maran duhu mein nahi jan paropakari aaye. People like you and myself, we are not badde by death and birth. We can come and go as we please. You can go. And history is, right, that Mata Jito ji then passes away in Anandpur Sahib before all of this happens. That is a different level of lotus and muddy water. Different level of it. Shaheed Singhs and Singhaniya. I think in this room, we all come from a Punjabi background. Now you go to Punjab, back to Punjab, there is like a Shaheed Jagah here, and there's a Shaheed Jagah on that side of the room too. It doesn't mean that there have been that many Shaheeds, but they're saying that koi tractor to deg paya, koi sharab pee ke, hai na, they overdrank and they had medicine and they died. Oh, we Shaheed. That's not what a Shaheed is. That's not what a shaheed is. Shaheed or jida sanmukh ho ke, they look deaf in the eyes, they know what they're doing, and they get killed in that process. It doesn't have to mean that they're wielding a weapon, they just have to know, and they have to die inside before dying physically. That's the definition of a shaheed. People used to get married early, have children early, fact. So some of these things, Ashri Anandpur Sahib, so the people that deserted Satguru Sahib Ji as well, these people were sort of 18, 19, 25, 30, the majority of them. They were newlywed and had very small children. But the ones that remained, they thought about nothing and they got shaheed. And shaheed Singhaniya too. And I would encourage this, because in one of the talks, one of the younger Bibiyan, they said, well, we as Bibiyan don't have role models. But the thing is, I got really offended by that. Because how can you say after so much that has happened in Sikh Bibiyan da itihas, that Sikh Bibiyan don't have role models? If you haven't read about it or you don't know about it, that's a different thing. If you want to experience role models, Singhs and Bibiyan, I encourage you this to go to Amritsar Sahib, right? Go to the Wagah border where it divides to Pakistan. Go to a roof. So I'm not saying go into strangers' houses, right? Ask someone or make a friend or something and go on a hill or a rooftop or something and look towards Pakistan, right? You will see Pakis, but you will also see two other things. You will see two other things too. You will see two Nishan Sahibs. So that's the encouragement to look at Pakistan. You'll see two Nishan Sahibs. The first Nishan Sahib is Shaheed Ganj Bhai Taru Singh Sahib Ji da. That is where Bhai Taru Singh Sahib Ji, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਮਤਲਬ ਖੋਪਰੀ ਲਹਾਈ ਗਈ, and they had to stay like that for 17 days and they didn't have their kesh cut. So that's a role model for us Singhs, and ਕਿ ਇਦਾਂ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਨਿਭਾਈ ਦੀ ਆ. And for Bibiyan, it's called the 9 Lakha Bazaar. It's the first bazaar of Lahore where these Nishan Sahibs are. है ना? It's the Shaheed Ganj Singhaniya da. That's what the Gurdwara is called. And the Nishan Sahib is very high, you can see it. What happened there was in Mir Manu diyan jaila, when those Bibiyan were imprisoned there, they were young Bibiyan, the majority of them. right? They had children and very small children. Those bibinga did Sukhmani Sahib da part. This is what the Muslim chronicles say. They did Sukhmani Sahib da part. After that, the children were massacred. Band bachchiyan da kataya gaya. They were cut limb by limb. The children were infants, babies. You know, ISIS, what they do now, this has all happened with us before. This isn't new to us. The Gore are panicking, right? The Gore are panicking. They just find like fancy words. We should call them the Daesh and stuff. They don't deal with the problem. And this has happened to us. Ask us how to deal with it. And so the bacche tote kar dande, and their limbs are then put onto tagga, like we see garlands on Maharaj, and those garlands are put in the neck of the bibinga. And these are young bibinga, 18, 20, 25, right? Like with all due respect, you know, our mothers, they've seen the world, right? They've seen the world, so they are a little bit more emotionally, and our fathers, right? They're a bit more emotionally stable than we are. Right? I'm just saying that, not as we might be very emotionally stable, but unhone dunya dekhi hundi hai, right? We haven't, and we are really attached to what is going on now, right? Those nyane are killed and everything, bachchiyan de haar vi gal ch pende. But what amazes me is, this is a next level of lotus muddy water thing. Those bibinga do the Sham da Sukhmani Sahib, they do another Sukhmani Sahib, they do Rehra Sahib da part, and the Muslims are standing there, and they do Ardas, ke Maharaj char pair din de sukha nal batiit hoye paane vich, char pair ratri de sukha nal paane ch batiit karone. That's something else. That Maharaj, this was your pana, and we're happy and content in it. They've lost their children. So that is a different level of lotus muddy water. We get caught in this, marriage is the aim. Marriage is not the aim. Think of it this way. It's like parking your car, right? You don't park your car on a zigzag, but I don't know, like if you got your granddad's disabled car or something like that, double yellow line, you can do it for a few minutes, right? Let's accept it. Ek khola ditti hai Maharaj ne that you can do it. They've not made it a zigzag, but if you mess it up, it is like that double yellow line. You can get punished for that too. And it's not the milestone. It's just, so it's not the aim. It's a milestone. Right? Purpose of marriage. Why should you get married? One is a biological reason, and the way I like to understand it is that God is lazy. God is lazy because this vice of lust, right? Even like biologically, they say that we have this trait in ourselves of lust, is so that we can reproduce and the world continues on being. If I had it my way, right, and if God was not lazy, right, what he should do is that there should be no lust in no one. Everyone should become like spiritual and get to Maharaj. The whole world should be finished, and then he can make a new set of people. But he doesn't want to do that every sort of 30 years, every generation. So he puts lust into us. So one of the purposes of marriage is biological, to have children. And Maharaj encourages that tan so vans, tan so pita, tan so mata, jin jan jane. That mother, that father, that family is tan, that serve this biological purpose, and then have a child that is a changa banda. Moving on. Second thing is like a physical reason I like to see it as. You know that Vanprasti that was in limbo? They were in limbo, they would come in, they would go back, they would come in, they would go back. That messes you up. And Kabir Sahib says, Kabir jaun grah kare ta dharm kar. Either accept that you need to get married and get married, nahi ta kar bairag, and if you think you're up to it, then don't get married and be an ascetic, be a monk, do that. But don't do this, bairagi bandhan kare tanko badho apag, that you go out there, you be ascetic, you do all of these things, then you regret it, and then you come back and you get married, because that's a based on spirituality, right? So you don't do that either. The other thing is a social thing, I should say an economic thing. When are we most broke, right? The most broke, especially Punjabi children, are when they are students, when they're at university, because pehli vari thodi ji khol mili hundi hai, you have some money and you're living on your own and you splurge it. Right? Then when, things get a little bit messed up, the parents start putting the pressure on, ki inna da vyah kara diye, hun bande ban jan, hana da it tek jan. What the parents want from that is that you start earning and sustaining yourself, so the zimmevari cuts for them as well. Maharaj doesn't want us to be beggars, to beg from people. Like our parents, they don't want us to they don't want us to live off benefits basically. So Maharaj says, you guys get married. Why? Because if you're not married, you won't have responsibility and you have no motivation to earn. So you, my Sikhs, should do dasvand. They should vand ke shakana kirt karni. They can only do these things if they have something. So when Guru Nanak Dev Ji was cussed by Pangarnath, and Pangarnath said, you put vinegar in the milk. Maharaj turned around and said this, right? Hoye ateet grist taj, fir unke kar mangan jai. Your little beggar bowl that you're holding and you think you're big because you're celibate, right? When you go to ona de karan ch janna, that are family people, you don't go to other ascetics because they don't have nothing either. You go to the people that earn and have money. And Guru Sahib says, you know, if we boycott you lot die. There'll be nothing of you. Spirituality ta pere thada khana nahi pura hona. Right? So that is like a economic reason for getting married. An emotional, spiritual reason is, you know, when I first got into Sikhi, it really messed me around, right? You know this idea of atte pair simran karna. One pair is 3 hours, atte pair is 24 hours, and it says that in Bani countless times. And that is like a really hard thing. I can't imagine how it is. Jede Gurmukh karde, I don't know how they do it, right? Bhai Rama Singh was doing a talk like this, and someone asked, Bhai Sahib ji, kinna simran karna chahiye? They were a Gurmukh pyare from a Khand Kirtani Jatha, and they've written this in their autobiography. Unhone puchha kinna simran karna chahiye? And Bhai Sahib was married at this stage, yeah, 13 घंटे karna chahiye. And the whole room, 13 घंटे 13 hours, the whole room looking at each other, and there was silence. People started to walk out. What's this about? Forget this, don't do this here. You can't do this here. That's not an option. Bhai Rama Singh ji, they look at the room, and there's a woman, there's this old woman that keeps like dribbling and stuff in her wheelchair. Like, not that these things were there, but things like this were there, right? Nyane school di bardi che, they're in the school uniform, they need to be dropped off to school, picked up from school. They realize, right, that people don't have time. People don't have time. Then Bhai Sahib thought about it, and this pangti sprung into their mind. Ek Sikh, doye sad sang, panji parmesar. Why do we say in Sangat? Is because our bhajan, our simran, it manifolds, it gets bigger. Right? You can do bhajan on your own, you can do simran in your own rooms and stuff. The reason that we should go to the Amrit Vela Diwan and the Katha Kirtan and everything is because that increases our bhakti. But what is Sad Sangat? The technical definition of Sad Sangat is like ek Sikh, 2 of us, doye sad sang. You make a sad sangat, you are husband and wife, right? That makes 2 of you, and you are both Sikh Gurmukhs, right? Then you got your little own sad sangat at home. So let's say you don't need to do the 13.5 hours. Maharaj will reward you for whatever you can do. Bapu Joginder Singh Ji Rodde, son Jarnail Singh Ji's father, was asked by one of the Singhs, who is now a Gyani, Gyani Avtar Singh, Badani Kalam wale. They didn't want to get married at some stage in their life, and they said, and they these thoughts were coming across, and Bapu Joginder Singh said, and I don't know where they said it from, what their experience was, that if you become Gristi, a Gristi Singh or Singhani, their kamai multiplies 8 times. Because Maharaj is understanding, they understand your responsibilities. So that is like an emotional, spiritual reason for it. The other thing is, that I know I talked about, Satguru Sahib Ji and Mata Jito Ji, that marriage isn't just about, being that shoulder to lean on, being that rock, being that pillow. It's not. But at the same time, you do need to have like support of each other. Sikh Sikhani mil bahe charcha kare apar, bhajan sikhave putra ko nit bhaj barambar. I tell you, so for the last 3 days, right, I've been coming to Amrit Vela because the person that I'm sharing my dome with, right, we both had sort of, that initial sharm of each other. That, so I should wake up to this. But last night when it got really late after the Q&A and everything, we just looked at each other and we accepted Shad. But your Gristi needs to be like that motivation thing, right? Just Singh karda, Bibi ne bhi karna, Bibi kardiya, Singh ne bhi karda. You know how we have in schools, right? This competitive boys versus girls. I could split the room up and make this like really dynamic, but we're not in school anymore. So, Sikh Sikhani mil beheb, charcha kare apar. Do these things in your house. Right? Do these sort of school activities in your house. I'm better than you, I can do this much. And do charcha about it. Discuss about godly things. If you do that, bhajan sikhave putra ko, then you can teach your children. Bhai Sukhjeevan Singh, they're a headmaster at school, right? And they were saying that they're looking at the statistics, the issues that they have in their school, and it is like in the whole country, the biggest disease isn't like that kids are giving chicken pox or rabies or something to each other. The biggest problem in schools is mental health. Mental health. Kids are getting depressed. And that is also because I don't actually believe the education system in this country is right. I believe it's not right. You know how, I'll just clarify this because it's on camera. Otherwise, I wouldn't have clarified, and you would just have to accept that. Clarification is this, right? You get your school reports, don't you? When I got my school reports, right? Let's say I was really dumb, but I wasn't. But let's say I was really dumb. And what they tell you, they give you a grade. This is how it happened for me, right? You get a grade for effort, and you get a grade for attainment, right? So I would get A star for effort, and I would get a D for attainment. So what does that tell me? Everyone's telling me try your hardest, but even if I'm trying my hardest, I'm getting a D, right? That is a negative way of enforcing things on people. Santhya jado tusi karde ha, deriyan ch jado tusi padde ha, right? You don't learn, you don't paka your santhya, you get told off, or you get this, that, the other, right? But it's not a negative system that you failed this task, you've done this. You just say that chal koi na poti fer kar lene, this, that, the other, and eventually look at it. Some of the people that are like gyanis and vidwans these days, when they began their santhya, they failed, but they weren't meant to feel that they failed or anything. The idea is that support system. But marriage isn't the only way. Marriage is not compulsory. Has anyone here done English literature? Yeah? Right, Ben, you as well? What stage? Degree. Right, okay, I only did it for GCSE, then I did it for A-level, and I didn't agree with it, so I dropped out of that as well. And in English literature, as far as I understand, when you look at a novel, this is what I understood English literature to be, and this is with due respect to your subject. It was that you're given a book, right? And you look at what the person's social background is, and they're like what their money-wise, their family and everything, and you deduce things like, this person wrote this thing because they were going through this. You don't appreciate that people can just be creative and things, and joking, but that's how English literature, that's how I felt like it was working, and that we were told that, read this book, now tell us what it means. It means what the writer is trying to say. That's why he's written the book. He's given it a title, not what you can't make a subject out of that, right? Sorry. But Sakal Dharm mein grist pradhan hai. Again, clever clog, switch off, please. If you know who wrote this and what he was, forget about it for a second. I'm just going to say the translation. Marriage is the best option to get to God. Think of that from an English literature perspective, and Paji as well. What sort of person would say that? What sort of person would say that marriage is the best option? A married person, right? But this is the irony. Gurbani te Sikh jehde unhone ne jhoot bolan di ijazat nahi. They're not given the right to lie. So who wrote this? Bhai Gurdas Sahib ji, and Bhai Gurdas Sahib ji themselves are brahmachari. So the reason that Gristi is so big is Bhai Gurdas Sahib ji accepts that I haven't done it, but it's the best way to get to God. That's honest. So if you can't hack Gristi, that's fine, right? If you think you're up for celibacy, that's fine too. But don't do that. Biragi bandhan kare taanko bado bhag. Don't mess up like that. Because then you do besti of the panth, you end up doing kareta and stuff. If you have those things and you're not, appa reason nahi kar sakde. We can't copy it, we can't be something that we're not. And you have to accept that. So Bhai Gurdas Sahib ji was brahmachari, and they did not get married. Baba Deep Singh Sahib ji never got married. They were not Gristi, they were Bihangam, I should use the word. The word we use is Bihangam, right? Because Bihangam is like, it means bird. So when you're not married, you have wings. So what that says about marriage, I don't know. And Bhai Gurdas Sahib ji, Baba Deep Singh Sahib ji, and Panjai Pyare, all Panj of the Panj Pyare were not married. But we can't really look at them as examples that they didn't get married, so we're not going to get married. They were incarnations, they weren't here to have like marry and take the children to school and stuff. Different ball game, but I'm trying to say it's not wrong to not get married. And there are cons of marriage. A successful marriage, worldly taurte, might lead to a divorce with God. And I think there's sort of 3 ways that it does that. There's the threat of entanglement. You might have met Harai Singh, and he's got a newborn. And when his baby is crying, it's like he's crying, and when his baby is laughing, he's laughing, and when his baby is hungry, he has another prashadda as well. But what I'm trying to say is, Gristi eddan di cheez ban jandi hai, right? Like, like when we mess up and stuff, our parents get depressed about it. What your environment is like, it's not directly physically affecting you, but you get engulfed in it so much, you get entangled in it. It's a threat of entanglement. Grist kutum pelitya kade hark kade sog. And you cannot get stability like that. Number 2 is a threat of illusion. And this is another thing that Guru de Sikh jhoot nahi bol sakde. Think about it. Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji's experienced true love, like worldly true love, because they sit in a pora for 26 years, 9 months and 13 days, and Mataji is there with a stick, right? And they sit outside the pora and they guard it. And you know, that period of Mataji's life, they're still physical human being. Theek hai, Brahm Gyani si, but think of it that way, you know, Bibiyan generally have a maternal instinct. Hai na? So they were kind of waiting to bring the Sahibjada into the world. So Satguru Sahib Ji's experienced this like sacrificing wife and this love, hana. But they come out of the pora, and when they start reciting Bani, they recite Bani here ki jagat mein jhoothi dekhi preet. That all the love of this world is false. Because they saw that human relationships, unless there's Maharaj involved, they have a limitation. And there's a pangati na Pret kar bhagi. And the story, and I'm going to modify the story a little bit. The story is this, right? You must know how we've all been to like Afsos when someone's died, a Rishtedar or something. We've been to their house, right? And there's some rules, aren't there? And the rules are like you can't eat that day, like Chullani Walana. Some people you have to take food for them sometimes and stuff, you know? And you can't comb your hair. That's for women. I think if you lose your husband as well, you can't comb your hair that day, and you can't wear new clothes. You can't do these sorts of things. They're really stupid, anyways. Anyway, because they're stupid, right? Because think about it. Food's gonna help you, right? It's gonna give you energy. You've lost someone and now you can't eat as well. You're gonna look like a mess because you're crying so much and you can't comb your hair, right? So these are all issues, right? There's like no point to it. People just make things as they go along. So there was this one Bibi, right? And she used to really, really love her husband, or she used to show that she really loved her husband. And her husband dies during the night. And first she gets a bit sad, yeah, she thinks, right, really sad, right? And then she thinks about Addi Raat hui hai, no one knows, right? She just puts a rajai over his body so it stays warm, because his body goes cold. And what she does is she nyanen le dud bana dendi hai, because mothers love their children lots, nyanen nu khada pla dendi hai. She makes some food for herself, she has it, then she does her hair and everything, and she does her makeup, she gets ready, she puts a new suit on so no one has to say to her that you're not allowed to wear new clothes because she's already wearing new clothes. And then when the morning comes, right, Jaun shuru ho jaye, main lutti gayi, main mar gayi, I lost my husband, everything's gone for me. And then what happens is that she's a bit inconvenienced, right? Because body kar ch pai hai, and she wants, right, sheti jao hun sare kar, we haven't got all day. So what she starts saying is, right, that I can see the ghost, he's here, take him, he's become a ghost, go burn him. So they have to do the funeral quickly. What actually happened was, right, this person was actually still alive, and like they just, like some yogi and Satguru Sajidan Kirpa, and they appeared to be dead, and he saw what his wife was doing basically. So this idea of love in that sense, it's limited. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but it has limitations. Third thing is you lose sight of reality. Has anyone heard this phrase, right? Ki pot ko pot nahi banda, mappe ko mappe bande. Has anyone heard it? Has anyone parents ever dropped it on them? Okay, maybe I'm just, I've just had a different, like a terrifying childhood. But your parents my parents used to drop that on me, not on you. What it means is that children can become bad children, but parents don't be bad parents. It's not true, is it? It's not true. Like, parents leave their children, like, they do also, like, in a serious thing, like they, abuse children as well, sexually abused, that's how Kali Yuga's progressed. But on a desi taur te as well, right? Your parent, like, you can never forsake your parents, Sikhi taur te, but between a choice between your parents and your in-laws as well, right? You are always to serve them, so for Bibiyan in-laws especially, and for Singhs as well, you respect your in-laws as your parents. You serve them always, but to the extent that it doesn't completely take away from your spirituality, your Sikhi. If it does that, you make that choice of Guru and not the worldly relationship, even if it's your parents. Anyways, there's a story to tell how Valmiki se ek Vatwara, and he had a day job. His day job was as an assassin, as a murderer. And what he would do is he would kill people and then empty out their pockets, right? And every job gets boring. You'd think, every job gets boring. So I sell mithiyai, and that's what it says about me in the camp pack, That's all I do. And yet it does get boring. It gets boring. Any job, everyone wants to quit their job, it's a fact. After some time, you just get bored of it. If someone's really passionate about your job, you will get to that stage one day, trust. He is murdering, so it is an exciting job, but he gets bored of it. One day, he kills someone, empties out their pocket, and there's only one coin. He goes home, and he's like, I want to quit my job. And he goes, Mummy ji, I don't want to work anymore. I want to get a new job. Why? What happened? Well, I killed this person and I only got like £1, but mum, a person's life is more than that. She goes, But tenu pata nahi hega. You don't know what you're on about. You haven't seen the world. I'll show you what this pound is worth. So what she does is, she takes that pound, she goes to the market, she goes to like the fish shop, right? And she buys pungre, like prawns, right? So she buys 100 prawns for that £1, that were a penny each, right? She comes back and she goes, Tu sharm kar Valmik, you're lazy, you want to quit your job because you feel bad for killing a person for £1. The fisherman killed 100 beings for that £1. He's going to go to a lot worse place than you. Get a grip with your life, carry on doing it. And his life continues like that. Valmik's life continues like that. He kills lots of more people. Ek din ki hunda hai, sadhu aa jande a. Sadhu aa jande, and they're ascetics, right? So they're wearing orange clothes, they got no pockets, and he goes to kill them, and they go, Valmik, hang on, we don't have anything. But by this stage, right, Valmik ne apni mummy di gal manni hui hai, because mummy is always right, that's what Valmik believes. And he says, Baba ji, that's wrong, you do have something, you have these orange clothes, I can make a sari for my wife, a suit for my mum, vest for my children, and a dastar for myself. He says to the sadhus, he says all of these things, and the sadhus are like, this is beyond help, right? What are we going to do now? What are we going to do? We're going to get killed. And they go, look, right, you tell us, jina vaase tu sari banani, suit banani, inna kuch karna, will they do anything for you? In the court of God, will they stand for you? Yeah, of course they will. He goes, they go home, ask them, jaake mummy nu puche, mummy, will you stand for me? And mummy goes, right, think about it. I kept you in my womb for 9 months. I had back pain, I had all of these things, it was really difficult. After that, I went through the pain of childbirth, then I did all of these other things. And they say, the aap maa gilli thaan te pੈ jandi hai. Why couldn't she just change the sheets and nyane nu sukki thaan te pa dendi hai, put tauliya or something down? Why do you have to suna it to us? Tu tenu main khila dendi sigi, ta fir main bhukhi aap rendi si. Eat yourself too, right? Benji's looking at me with her 2 children, like I say that to them. So mom ne nahi gal manni. He goes, all right, whatever mom, okay, whatever. Moves on to his wife. It's an arranged marriage. She goes, Mappiya ne menu tere naal torya. I am your responsibility, right? You sustain me, you feed me, it's your responsibility. I'm not responsible. Wife turns him down. Nyane ta chalo daddy di mannu gayi. Daddy, they go away. Daddy, no, we can't take the responsibility. You brought us into the world. No one told you to get married and have us. You chose that, so now you do what you got to do to raise us. So he goes back to this house and he gets varag and he leaves his family. And he understands that ankaye ratadya vaad duheli ram. Bhai Guljit Singh might have said in their talk too, maut da jehda dard hai, the pain of dying, if you're not attached to Guru Sahib, this is for worldly people, is like 1,000 scorpions biting you at the same time. 1,000 scorpions biting you at the same time. That's how much it hurts to die. Vaad duheli ram, and that ra is really, really dangerous. Paap kamav dea tera koi na belli ram. You've lost sight of reality. You know na gristi, like, all right, we don't kill people to sustain our family. I hope not, right? Some of the things we do, like, some of the businesses that we do and stuff, we justify that we gotta, give bread to our family and stuff. The thing is, we want the bread too as well. But Maharaj will give you the bread. The bread is written on your matha, how much rizq you're gonna get. You just have some parosa and do it, right? But we lose sight of reality, and those cause a divorce with God. Right now, it's going to go on to a bit of a controversial thing, interfaith marriage. Show of hands, and by interfaith marriage, I think it's become clear because it's come in the Q&A so much anyways. What we're on about is an interfaith Anand Karaj. So this is like Kala, Pila, Gora, whoever can get married wherever they want. 2 people from 2 different religions can get married wherever they want to, but not in a Gurdwara as in Anand Karaj. Who agrees that interfaith Anand Karaj is wrong? Okay, that's nearly everyone. And who believes interfaith Anand Karaj is right? And the thing is, we won't judge you publicly. right? We might judge you in our dorms between ourselves. We won't judge you here, right? And we might not see each other, so it doesn't matter anyway. So it's fine if you put your hands up and say you believe in Interfaith Anand Karaj. Is there anyone? Okay, that's fine as well, right? I'm going to patronize you, so I'm apologizing in advance. Have you seen the Singhs do parkarma or anyone do parkarma anywhere, right? I'm not a vidwan, I'm not a scholar, so I don't know what like the Sikhi meaning to it is, right? The meaning that I deduce from it is a really Siddhi one. You go around Harmandir Sahib or Guru Granth Sahib Ji or whatever, right? That means Guru Granth Sahib Ji is at the center of your life. So that is like, this is the sun, this is at the center, and no one be smart and say it slightly to that side. But Udda, and no one, you know what Bhai Sukhraj said about the sun moving as well? Whatever, but the sun is in the middle of the situation, and the earth goes around it for us normal people. So let's just, the earth is going around it. What is in the middle? Read the sentence. What is that? The sun, right? The sun, right? Now you're going to go home after camp. You're going to go home after camp, and you're going to get this wedding card, and that wedding card is going to be for Kulwant and Sophie's wedding. For Kulwant and Sophie's wedding at, let's say, Smevik Gurdwara Sahib, right? Now you might be related to Kulwant and Sophie, and you're all saying here because you don't want me to judge you in my dorm, but maybe some of you secretly believe in the Interfaith and Anand Karaj, which is all right. You believe what you believe, and it doesn't matter. It does actually, though. Anyways, you got Sophie and Kulwant and Anand Karaj, right? You're going to do a parkarma around Maharaj. Both of you are going to do it, right? But the thing is, you ring Kulwant and say, Kulwant Paji, right? I don't really agree with your Anand Karaj, but I believe in Guru Nanak Dev Ji. I'm a Sikh. He doesn't believe in Guru Nanak Dev. This is why I've chosen this picture of Guru Nanak Dev Ji. They have like a pink cushion here, and they have like these Hindu lotuses behind them. This is like some sort of wishy-washy version of Shri Guru Nanak Dev Ji. This isn't the real Shri Guru Nanak Dev Ji. So in the center of Kulwant's life is wishy-washy Shri Guru Nanak Dev Ji, and in the center of Sophie's life, who this camp is dedicated to, Jesus. This Easter camp is dedicated to Jesus. That's why we do it at Easter, right? So Sophie and Kulwant want to get married. This is the sun in the middle of Kulwant's life. This is the sun in the middle of Sophie's wife. How then are you going to go around Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji? And the only issue for me is not an issue of Rat or Gurbani or anything else. The thing is, Sangat nu Sat Sangat kya, the congregation of the truth, and you're lying in front of that many people, and that many people are engaging in the false as well, right? Now, someone can ask, what about these Punjabi Sham weddings that like the bride and groom don't know anything about Maharaj? I've experienced it too. Where I live, Bristol, is so bad. We have grooms sometimes, you can smell the alcohol from their mouth. You ask that in the Q&A, because we don't have time here to go into it. But the basic gal is this, right? You need to sort out the external before you sort out the internal. Like here, I am radicalizing you. I can do that in a band kamra. If people from outside come here and they start telling you what to do and they start doing the hip people here, right? Tusi vi mess up hona hai, ona da vi nahi kuch banna, right? That's why we need to close that door first. Like, Penji has to go and we have to close the door. And we and Penji are friends though. So we have to close that door, right? And then we can sort out what's inside. Here I'll radicalize you by myself. Meri gal hai, mere ghar di gal hai. Pehlo bahar nu aapa sambhal laiye. So that was the interfaith marriage thing. Here I've just put a picture because I felt like it of a token Amritari wedding, just so that we have that in the talk, right? There's this other thing that I've been hearing as well, and some campers have been saying it as well. This is the thing, right? We become gore. One soul in two bodies. How does that work? Has everyone watched Harry Potter? Right, in Harry Potter that is possible, because this is how I work. You're a Harry Potter fan, aren't you? You are, aren't you? Really strong one. Really strong one. Really strong one. I know. I remember, because I think it's you. And it is you, isn't it? Harry Potter fan. No, serious now. Serious.
I've seen a couple of films.
You've seen a couple of films. Have you been to Watford Junction for the Harry Potter studio? Yeah, there. So there we go. Aage na gal. So in Harry Potter, right, as Bhai Sahib can, verify for me, you can split your soul into two. Voldemort did it. You kill someone, it becomes a Horcrux, and you could put it into two places. You are not living in Harry Potter. You are living in the world. You cannot split your soul into two and put it into two bodies. It doesn't work like that. I don't understand. You can't do it. And the soul is the soul at the end. How do you split it? I agree the husband wife are not husband wife sitting alone. एक जोत दोए मूर्ति एक जोत वाहिगुरु दी एक जोत हैगी वाहिगुरु दी दोए मूर्ति. You two are like statues, and that is the living force inside of you. You are guru focused, not each other focused. Tan pir ke hi soe. That's the thing. And you again, you can't have that. Kulwant and Sophie can't have that. Compatibility, right? Compatibility of marriage. What two people should get married? And it doesn't for all of us, right? Because we're all Sikhs, and this doesn't really apply to us. Interfaith, I'm giving advice on interfaith marriages, but no, that's not what I'm trying to do. But ये अपनियां चीज़ें एक होनियां चाहिदियां. आशा इष्ट पाशना खान पीन पहरान तुलसी जा में खट मिले सोई मिले जान. These 6 things. So your hope. So if one aspires for a Mercedes and the other one is happy in public transport, you need to get a happy balance and buy a Ford Focus or something like that, है ना? Matlab, your hopes in life have to be the same. Your hopes in life have to be the same, or there's going to be problems. Isht, your God has to be the same. The way I see it, why does your God have to be the same? Because all God's the same. All God's not the same, pehli gal. है ना? You read the Bible, because I've been watching this series, it's called the Bible, because I can't bother to read all of it. And in that series, right, they talk about, like, the Egyptians, right, they have one overarching God, right? And Moses, Huni have their own God, right? And Moses, Huni, when they talk about their God, yeah, they go, the God of Abraham. So, like, that is the God of Abraham. It doesn't mean that it's necessarily our God, because they worship, like Muslims worship that Kaaba, that stone in the Kaaba and stuff. So their God might be that stone or something like that. We don't even know if all gods are the same and they're worshipping the same thing. We can udda keh deida hai ki Rabb ek hai, because there is only one Rabb. If you're worshipping someone else, you're not actually worshipping God. Anyways, your God has to be the same, because when you die, and this is the reason that, I'm religious, or I look religious. The reason I'm religious, I'm a really worldly person. I don't do it for Brahmagyan or anything. I'm scared of dying, and when I die, I want someone to have my back. But if you are so interfaith, right, or you don't know what you are, right, what's going to end up happening is, right, let's take Guru Nanak Dev Ji out of it. Let's say Kulwant was a Buddhist, right? I don't know, his name can be, I don't know, let's pick of a Buddhist name, Dalai Lama. Right, right, all right, another name, huh? Lama, right? So Lama here and Sophie are getting married, yeah, and then they have this marriage and they have children. When they die, yeah, who's going to take that responsibility? Buddha is going to point at Jesus, and Jesus is going to point at Buddha, कि तू जिम्मेवारी चुक तेरा department है ना? Who's going to take the responsibility? Sort your life out and have one God. Even, some of us, right, oh, you might be here and you might feel Sikh, you might go back, you might talk to someone, yeah, I feel a bit Muslim today. You cannot feel a bit Muslim. We died over this. Hana, Khan peen pehran, your food, right, this is like, first thing is, right, your food has to be gurmat taurte. So how this question is about why, if your spouse doesn't, why can't you have a physical relationship with your spouse if they're not amritari? Or why can you not get married if your spouse is not, why can you not get married if your spouse, that doesn't make sense, does it? If you go to take amrit, the Panj Pyare say to you, bring your husband or bring your wife, and come as a couple. That's why it's better to take amrit beforehand. And there's someone in this camp, right, and they're in one of these situations, right, where they really want to take amrit, but they interfaith married a long time ago. And I met them a few weeks ago, and that individual said to me, I envy you, because it's better to find love before Sikhi. No, it's better to find Sikhi before love, because if you get into if you marry first and then you want to take Amrit, then that's going to delay the whole process. So if someone's not married, then take Amrit right now and then get married. And that's a serious thing, because if you're procrastinating and then parents get you married, trying to convince each other, it's a big problem. But I also believe if you got the urge of Sikhi inside of you, right, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever it takes, marriage will give you Amrit anyways. And both of you. Khan peen, so that food and drink has to be the same. Because look, we're not allowed to have tobacco. Your spouse has tobacco, and cigarette peen there, jo kuch bhi. Thada Amrit ki rahe, thadi rahat ki rahe, what is of you? What are you? You can't touch tobacco, and yeah, you're having a relationship with someone that has tobacco. It doesn't work that way, hana. Udda vi practically, right, on can't be, for those of us that have married, you have to compromise and have a happy balance. One of you have more marriage, one of you have less marriage. Obviously, I think you're probably looking at me, they apna hi dukh sunai janda hai na. But it is kind of that too, right? But you got to get this happy balance where you have the middle marriage. And not like you don't have too much or too less. So khan peen bhi ekko jaya karda if you want to be happy, right? And pehran, this doesn't mean you become transgender and we wear each other's clothes. What this means is that pehran gurmat da hove. Both wear modest clothes. And that Sikhi da bana hove. That sort of thing. Right? This is so that people don't think that I'm that extreme. I've used a normal couple here as well, right? This is that part of the marriage, right? That all the bibinga and the darbar, yeah, I don't even know how this is related to you or how you deduce this is to do with your own marriage or whatever, but you all start crying. And we see at every marriage when the father hands over the palla to the bibi, and all the other bibi and the darbar are crying too, because that's what it is for us, and that's not a dig at bibi and Singhs do it for other things, but we make everything about us and emotions and this, that, the other. To see Rabb de darbar ch baithe hain, Shri Guru Granth Sahib Ji de samne, right? Yeah, these thoughts come in your head, but get over them. That's what I'm trying to say. And the first thing that happens at an Anand Karaj is palle di rasam. So where the palla is handed over. So now we're going on to what like a Sikh Anand Karaj is, right? And ਉਹਦੇ ਪੱਲਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਜਾਂਦਾ, and that is a promise from the Bibi ਕਿ ਉਸਤਤ ਨਿੰਦਾ ਜੀ ਮੈਂ ਹੱਬ ਵਿਛਾਈ ਛੋੜਿਆ ਹੱਬ ਕਿਛ ਤਿਆਗੀ. I have forsaken the praises and the slander. So ਇਹ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਦੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਬਾਤਾਂ. Sometimes you're from the same circle, right? And you know, people say that your spouse is like this or they were like this, and about the past and stuff. At that stage, you make a promise from this day on, we forget about everything that's happened in the past now. And anything crops up that this person was like, that you ustat ninda mein hum vichai chodya hab kich tyagi, you leave all of that behind. Habbe sa kudave ditte. I know all other relations to be false. So like for a Sikh bibi, the pran is that you see your husband as the only male and every other male is like a woman to you. So like, you know, Sikh bibinga can speak to they can speak to other men, right? It's not like it's like other religions and stuff as well. They can, but you can speak to them if you have that in your head, that bhavana, that this is just like a sister, we're all soul brides on the journey. Maharaj Ranjit Singh, so, and like, you know, I'm not actually being sexist, you know, it is hard for the bibinga, and like, you know, if bibinga cries because they've been through something, and we need to acknowledge that as Singhs as well. It's like koi drakht hai, and like the drakht and the roots are in one place for like 20-25 years, right? You pull that drakht out from the roots, you put it in a next place, and it's going to take some time for it to blossom and adapt to that environment, to that temperature. And so Singhs really need to appreciate that. Think about it. Try and uproot a plant. You can't. It's hard to do a plant that's been there for 20-25 years. Bibinga do that not by us pulling them out of it. They do it by themselves. So that's a big thing that they do. And that's a power that Satguru Sahib Ji has given them. And that Maharaj Vaheguru's done it universally to all Bibinga. So Maharaj Ranjit Singh gets one of his sons married to one of the daughters of Sham Singh Atariwala. I think we do it at camp too, not to a great extent, but my local Gurdwara and a lot of local Gurdwaras, they do even more. What they do is, right, just to make you listen to them, right, just to force you to listen to the stage secretary and everything, they give you prashad right at the end. Because, you know, a lot of us, like, we go to the Gurdwara for prashad, and I do that as well. And we want the prashad, so we have to sit, so they make you sit. And at this Anand Karaj, the same thing happened, everyone had to sit. All the speeches start happening, everyone doing his vadiyai, Ustad of Maharaja Ranjit Singh, that he is so charitable, this, that, the other, that he's given gold to Darbar Sahib, he's done this, he's done that, he's done this, he's done that. Sham Singh, Akali Baba Fulla Singh, Nihang Singh, who was Jathedar of Akal Takht, he comes over and he says, I want some time. And he gets time, and what does he say? He goes, you all are liars. Because today, Sham Singh Atariwala is the bigger one because he's given his daughter away. He is the bigger one, and female infanticide and seeing Bibinga as a lower gender and all these things, and our parents sort of not our parents, hopefully not, because none of you have actually experienced female infanticide because you're still alive, but as in people, it does happen, and I think it does actually happen here as well. It does happen in England. I've seen it, the reason it happens is a big part of it is dowry. Now, we might think this is an ancient concept. We still do it in a token form. ਆਪਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, but ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਦੇਖ ਕੇ someone has to do it ਦੁਖੀ because they can't afford it. So Sikhi ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ you can't do it at all. You can't do it at all. Dowry, the Raitname say, is like buying for the kudi, the kudi wale, they're buying themselves a groom, and the munde wale are selling their munda away, right? And that is male prostitution, and that leads to hell. Any prostitution is going to lead to hell, isn't it? You are allowed one type of dowry though. Har prav mere bavla har devo dan mein dajo. You can, if you ask for your parents, like bibiyan as well, and Singhs can ask that you should give me this dowry. What is that? Har kapda har sobha devo jis savra mera kajo. Your parents bring you up, bibiyan are given, if the parents want to give dowry, then they should give bibiyan the opportunities to have santhya and have education, those sorts of things. Oh cheez, oh thada daj, you can demand for the daj that we want to take that daj with us. As Sikhs, we have that responsibility. Another point that I wanted to make was about Anand Karaj, because loads of things happen in Anand Karaj, and sometimes we say they're cultural and they're not that important. We don't know what Maharaj is protecting us from. Raat banai hai na, we don't know. So some things, right, like covering your head, for example, I just think it's like to keep your head warm, so that you don't put dirty things like on your kesh get protected, like a hygiene factor, all of that, right? But there might be more to it. So one of the things is, right, jewelry. Sikh bibiyan and Sikh bande too are, because I was just going to say bibiyan, because then I thought about it. Lots of apne bande, not just here, even in Punjab, nattiyan paunde, they get their ears pierced, and some bibiyan get their nose pierced, lots of parts of their body pierced, right? And Raat kendi you cannot do that. All jewelry is not right? Not right in terms of modesty, but piercing is the next level of wrong. And why that is, and one of the reasons is, and Maharaj is forbidden it, right? But so this is what happened in Daksh Prajapati at the advent of time when Satyug was, right? There was this one person called Daksh Prajapati, and this is part of Hindu mythology. And he had 10,000 daughters. How he had them, I don't know. And he is about to get his daughters married. And how we've said, giving your daughter away is a big thing. Charity always leads to rewards. That's why, even when we do the Svand and stuff, Maharaj tells us to do it not so that they get richer, so that we actually get richer. You know that. The Svand Dena, Maharaj didn't create it because they could make money from anything. They made the concept of the Svand is so that we get richer. So like all these problems that we have financially, and finance is boring, isn't it? Finances, I don't know how Indi Smevik does it, he's a banker. Finance is boring, but it's part of our lives. And if we get poor, then it gets really hard. You give your daswand, because then Maharaj guarantees that you're not going to get that poor. You might get a little bit poor, but you still be financial. You've got like your insurance policy because you keep giving daswand. Anyways, moving on, Daksh Prajapati, 10,000 daughter, he's going to do that kanyadan. He's going to get the charity, the benefit of that. He's going to get really powerful. All the Devi Devtas start to envy him and they want to corrupt him. So they go up to him, why don't you do this? Give them some jewelry. So he gives them more jewelry. What if someone mugs them on the way? And I don't know what sort of society they lived in. What if someone mugs them on the way and takes the jewelry off? So what should I do? Make holes in their ears and noses and lock the jewelry on them so they can't take it off. But I don't understand that again, because you could just cut the ear off and the nose off. Then you'd have deformed 10,000 daughters. But anyways, right? He gets all of them pierced, and their ears pierced. And what ends up happening is, he don't get the benefit of kanyadan. He doesn't get the benefit of giving away a complete daughter, because that daughter was, because piercing essentially is a deformity, isn't it? And that's not a natural deformity, because if it's a natural deformity, you're still complete. Your marriage has still made you complete. This is a deformity or a modification that you've done to yourself. So that's the reason. That is one of the reasons that maybe Satguru Sahib Ji is protecting by saying to Sikh Bibiyan, you can't do that. ਸਾਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੰਨਿਆਦਾਨ ਦਾ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਮਹੱਤਵ ਬਖਸ਼ੀ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ, how much benefit they're giving to us. Covering our hair, just with that thing as well, we often so like what I was saying, but when you don't cover your hair, the Hindu Granth said that you're spiritually vulnerable. So people would get possessed when they are either eating or when they were on the toilet, and so Uddha vi, you know, if your hair at night, in a certain part of the night was uncovered, they would get possessed. So Maharaj just said that just cover your hair, and they've not really given many reasons for that, but saying that, by Maharaj doing that, we don't know what Maharaj Sahib is protecting us from. So that's why you don't question what Maharaj says, you just do it. You just do it with no reason. And that's with Lama as well. You know, ghosts, right? Sometimes, you know, when we say ghosts and stuff, like you get people and they look at, like, you know, the only ghost we know about is Casper, and that was on TV. Ghosts don't exist, right? Ghosts do exist. Some ghosts are nice, some ghosts are not nice. Fact, Gurbani tells you that. The Singhs go, Maharaj, we want to see ghosts, right? Simple as that to Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj. Maharaj closes their eyes and they say the Pangatiyan, Sarputa Vartara, Sarvnana Pekhanhara, which means that Vaheguru sees everything, and all of a sudden, like, loads of ghosts appear, right? And the Singhs are like, wow, like they do exist. If it was me and you, we'd probably run away or something. Ghosts on the other, Singhs on the other hand, they want to ask something. What do you think they asked? Any ideas? What would you ask? If I'm a ghost, right, what would you ask me? What made me a ghost?
What's it like to be a ghost?
Right, okay. These are all good answers. I wouldn't actually ask any, I'd just go somewhere else. But you know what the Singhs asked, right? And it seems strange. This is what Faujan are like. They don't care, do they? And the Faujan go up to the ghosts here, and they go, look, there are so many of you. You guys aren't physical beings. You don't really have a body, so to say. How do you make more of you? How are there so many of you? How does that work? That's what the Singhs ask the ghosts. The ghosts go, don't mock us, right? Don't make fun of our problems. And they go, what's your problem? Our numbers have depleted. Singhs were like, what? There was even more of you? Yes, there were. So another time when you were like spiritually not protected was, you know, when you married, and they used to marry around fire. And fire is just that. Fire keeps you warm. It is just fire. It's just an element. You get married around the fire. The ghosts would enter that marriage hall, and they would take a hair of the bride and the groom. And in Maharajan, how these processes work. But this is what the ghost said to the Singhs. And then we would, when this couple died, we would make them ghosts as well. But the reason that our numbers are depleting, there's not so many of us left anymore, is because Shri Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj made Lama da part, Shri Guru Ramdas Sahib Ji made Lama da part, and ever since Lama da part has been happening in weddings, we can't go. That part's got some sort of protection that we can't get into the marriage hall. We can't make them ghosts. So we don't even know कि Lama sadiyan करा के मारे सानू केड़ियां केड़ियां चीज़ां तो बचा रहे हैं. Guru Gobind Singh Ji कहते सारे सिंगे दा नितनेम करया करो. Right, moving on. When there's lots of promises for the Bibi, and I haven't seen this at any Amritari Anand Karaj that I've been to. This book, Khalsa Jeevan, is in Punjabi. I encourage you to buy it, read it if you can read Punjabi, or get mummy or someone like that to read it to you, because Agleda vi palaya that reads it to you, like read a chapter, like 2 pages, 3 days, whatever, understand it, and Twadda vi palaya. It has all of the Maryada, all of the Rat, and all of the like hard and easy concepts of Sikhi in this one book. J Maharaj nu paya, one day it will come in English as well. And that says, after the Palle da Shabad, the next thing that there should be is, there should be another Shabad, and it should be this Shabad da Kirtan. Je kar gahe pyarade, tud na choda mool, har chodan se durjana pada hai dojik ke sool. What that means is, that's from the groom now. You know how like Muslims can just leave their wife. You get bored of your wife, you can just say talaq, talaq, talaq. You don't really have to legitimize it. You know, some Muslims will tell you that you have to give this reason and this. You don't really have to. You can actually prove that a woman was cheating on you with 3 witnesses that don't even know the woman or you or the situation. Right? It doesn't really make sense, does it? That's just their religion. But this is the promise. Har jekar gahe pyarade. Now that I've taken you, you've heard my palla, tudna choda mool, I can't leave you, and you promise in front of Satguru Sahib Ji, and this is what you have to do, the extent you have to go to make your marriage work. Har chodan se durjana, if I leave my wife, then I am a durjana, I'm a khota, I'm a mean, horrible person, but I had no dojik ke sool. Maharaj, you don't need to send me, I promise I will go to hell if I do that. So that is the promise from the Singh. I don't know why that Shabad and reading that Shabad, maybe it is because we have a bit of gender bias, or the Granthis have a little bit of gender bias, or whatever, or people just don't know that we've stopped doing this. Right, we're going to quickly go through this. The 4 Lama have a spiritual meaning and a worldly meaning. First Islam focuses on this concept, pravirti karam. These are the karams that change you, that make you good, right? So spiritually, these are doing good deeds. So pravirti karam khalse de naam dan ishnan. Naam japna, to give you the daswand, sangat karni, that's also a dan, and ishnan, amrit vile utke ishnan karna. That's your pravirti karam when you become a Sikh, the first steps of being a Sikh. Pravirti karam here, physically, is you're moving on to married life, so you're taking on responsibilities. In the Dujilam, there's this idea of nirpau pa and nirmal pau, that is fear and love. So it's like, you know, children, you keep telling them off and stuff, they get teeth, don't they? It's like vaccinations, or like antibiotics, because you're a pharmacist, aren't you? Antibiotics, and you keep having them, and you get, like, they'll stop working, don't they? Nyane nu kutti jao, one day nyane just got you back. They won't learn anything from it, right? We're not advocates of that in Sikhi. He's looking at me, yes, we are. But you discipline your children, samjha your children, everything, but children are more fear of losing love and respect than they are of being beaten up. And that's where it comes. This is the idea of you love and you fear Maharaj, you respect Maharaj, and you fear losing their love, and that makes your love. And in the same way here too, right? In a rishta too, you need to have fear and love, right? It's like you can say that you're really, really, really in love, and you got lots of respect for each other, and this, that, the other, right? But it could be that there's like Punjabi example, right? So koi karwali, she really, really loved her husband, and like it came to about like 9:30 at night time, right? And the husband goes that tu cha bana de, and she goes, no, get lost, I've been doing this, I've been doing that, tu mar pare, this, that, the other, and that shows, right, that our relationships, we might say that they have fear and love, but they don't really. We're just like, we don't even go to these things, And the third thing, there's this pangati Sant Janahar Mel, in the Lamada part. So I'm not making it up, just to show you, right? The Sant Janahar Mel Har Paya Vidbhagiya Balram Jiyo, Now spiritually, Sant Janahar Mel Sangat vich aaya karo, Katha Kirtan sunya karo, that's what that means, right? Marriage taurte between you and who, you all, like, this is mature, a little bit of a mature guy. Everything that you can do and achieve from being married, you can do that without being married. If it was just to have children, twade nalo change, apne nalo change, a pigs soor change, because they have 12 children, right? That does not make them better than us, right? We got to do something to be human and something more to be Sikh. Sant Janahar Mel, you are a Sikh and a Sikh getting married. Sikhs have been called Sants in Bani, and that is for the Bibi and the Manda. Both Singh and Singhni, tusi dono Sant hain. Te dono Santa ne jitte do Sant bende hai, utte naam di charcha hogi, they talk about God, won't they? So you got to think about your relationship in that context. And in the Chauthi Lav, that it talks about meeting with Vaheguru, becoming one with Vaheguru. So that's quite obvious that is the spiritual meaning from it. And here, Paya Var Avinasi, the gal is that Var Abhinasi, and this is, I've not said this in any of the talks, it's just coming to my mind now. The truth of the gal is that one day, unless you have an accident together or something, in a rare occasion you die together, one of you is gonna die before each other. Or you might be in like love, and you might be in this cycle, right? But what ends up happening is, if you've done that, Maharaj has said, Paya Var Abhinasi, get that husband, get that marriage that never ends. So in your marriage cycle, you have to get one with Vaheguru, so that in that day that one of you dies, you become a widower, and either way, right, you can cope, you can survive, because you still have your husband, Lord. Can people get remarried? They can. They can. I ask you in the Q&A if you want to elaborate, but I don't know what to say, but they can, they can. Do we think Bibiyan and Singhs in the context of marriage are equal? Hands for yes, please. You lot have been brainwashed too much. Okay, yeah, good, they're equal, And what about no? No, okay, fine. Each religion has a model for how a husband and wife should be. Islam, I'm really confused about the model, right? It's not just, I got Muslim friends, right, but I'm just genuinely confused about Islam. Hana? It doesn't make sense. They say respect for women, but then you can have 4 wives, and then you can divorce them whenever as well. And it doesn't really make sense to me. Hana? But on the other hand, with Hindus, it's even worse. I think like we don't really do khandan of the Hindu way enough, because they say, "Jedi bibi hundi hai, pair di jutti hundi hai." And some of like the Punjabi culture and thinking is that too, isn't it? That's where domestic abuse starts from. The pair di jutti hundi hai, and let's make that's not a Sikh thing. That's a Hindu thing, and that's not like a Hindu cultural thing. That's a Hindu religious thing. It says it in their text. That Hindu mentality is in Punjabi people. Right? Serving does not make you higher or lower. Serving does not make you higher or lower, right? Let's do it this way. You are equal in these contexts, and we're nearly over now. You both have an equal chance to Brahmagyan. That's the important thing, isn't it? People ask these questions, Bibiyan Punjab pyariyan ch lag diyan, "Ve karna ki hai Punjab pyariyan ch lag ke?" Is that the be end all? बहुत वड्डी सेवा है पंजाब प्यारियां च लगन दी. I'm not saying that, right? But is that the be end all? है ना? You both have an equal chance to Brahmagyan. What else do you want? है ना? You can both go to the Gurdwara at least. है ना? You can do Katha, Kirtan and Prachar. Satguru Sahib Ji established that. That's not a wishy-washy thing that we allow people to do Katha, Kirtan and Prachar. Satguru Sahib Ji, that's, some people actually, I'm sure you don't, but some people actually believe that Bibiyan can't do any of this, right? Bibiyan can't do Kirtan, Prachar and Katha. They've done it at this camp. But Sri Guru Amar Das Sahib Ji, the 3rd Guru Sahib Ji, they said that, didn't they, that to that, they made Bhai Manjiyan for Prachar, seats of Prachar, right? And they made one of the Prachariks a Bibi. That's a historical thing that they've made, Hana. Both can wear religious symbols and be initiated. So ਪੰਜਾਂ ਕਕਾਰਾਂ ਦੀ ਰਹਿਤ ਦੋਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਰੱਖਣੀ ਆ, no doubt about it, and ਦੋਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਛਕਣਾ, ਇੱਕੋ ਹੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਖੰਡੇ ਦਾ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਛਕਣਾ ਆ. Soul is genderless. Vaheguru doesn't really care what you are or what you look like. That's lucky for some of us. And both have role models. Both have role models. No doubt about that too. Another thing about Shri Guru Amar Das Sahib Ji as well, and this is again on Islam, I don't know why, but this burqa pauna. And I've seen it at some weddings too, because at my local Gurdwara, right, when they don't, Jagveer Singh's from Bristol too, and he knows, when they like run out of parties and stuff, they ask me to be like the marriage minister, and I do the lama. And I've seen Sikh bibiyan with a chund, and like completely covering their face. Shri Guru Amar Das Sahib Ji, and this is like the value of women, the respect of women that Satguru Sahib Ji has, that a bibi comes with a veil, with a burqa, and Guru Amar Das Sahib Ji says, "Inu main nahi darshan dene. Inu main darshan hi nahi dene hage." And then that bibi's make, she has to remove it, or she doesn't come, whatever the itihas was, right? Because Satguru Sahib Ji just rejected that. They don't care if it's, their religious freedom to wear their burqa or whatnot. They swore it was wrong, so they said, "No, asi darshan hi dene." And it was a Rani, it wasn't like a normal person, it was like a queen, and they offended the king and everything as well. So moving on, Nanak Pande Bahara Ikko Sacha Soy. That every man and woman is born from a woman, but only Vaheguru Sahib Ji is Bahara, they are outside of this cycle of being born, because a juniya. And both must be monogamous. Both can only have one spouse. That is also, that's in Sikhi as well. Je bibi vaste and purush vaste vi ke ek kanari jati hoye. But saying all of this, right? Saying all of this, this is Gurbani. And Maharaj di Bani jehdi hai oh agad bodhiya, we cannot doubt it, and I'm not going to ask you to doubt it. But I'm going to read the translation of this Gurbani. And you just think that as if I met you on the street or something, I met you on the street and I just said it. And how do you feel? Would you say that there is gender bias in this? Is this gender is sexist? Kaho Nanak, jin prayo parmeswar kar janneya, tan sati dargah pravanneya. What that means is that Shri Guru Arjan Dev Ji Maharaj kende कि जिस बीबी, whichever virtuous woman, she is great, tan tade yogya, जिन्हें अपने पति नू परमेश्वर करके, knows her husband to be God, and she will get jaga and she will get accepted into Sachkhand. That's what that Pangati is saying. does that appear, and again I know you have bhavna, but and you believe in Gurbani kyunki tusi Sikh hai, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਵਿਸ਼ਵਾਸ ਆ, but if I said that to you on the street, would you A, think that I'm a Sikh, and number two, and if I didn't say it was from Bani and I didn't quote it up, if I didn't say it was Bani, and number two, I wasn't a Sikh, number three, in that way that you just thought it was from someone else, or I interpreted it wrong, would you think that there is gender bias or sexism in that pankti?
Yes.
Yes. Anyone else?
Didn't know.
Anyone else? Right, okay. And to be honest, the way that I said it, right, because you obviously in these talks you play away and you say it in a certain way to get a certain answer, but the gal aya, yes, that is the fact, that is what Maharaj is saying, that you as Bibinga, so this is for Bibinga, that you have to see your husband as the Lord, and you will get, you Tanasati, you are a virtuous woman, you are great, Tanta de Yogya, your Guru is calling you great, and you'll get Jaga in Dargah. But there's a flip side to this, isn't it? So, because this question might come up, so I'm just going to say it anyways, so that we can finish quicker as well. Domestic abuse, all of these different things, what if our husband does that? What if our husband drinks and beats us up and all of these different things? Then what do we do? Do we still consider our husband as Lord? First thing that I'm going to say, and you don't have to agree with it, that's not what this is about getting everyone to agree with the thing. This is just about getting the message out. Pehli gal aya, those people that say that the Bibinga that endured it, so this is like our mom and our grandmothers, all that generation that endured it, those Bibinga were not weak. Those Bibinga were strong. But the circumstance didn't allow them to speak up. Speaking up is right. But I still believe, right, everything that they endured, you might think it's a weakness, but if they did it with that bhavana of serving their husband, right, Jinne unhone dukh paaye ya, Satguru Sahib Ji will reward them, and the husband will get punished manifestly and he will go to hell and he will burn there. Fact. The point that I want to make here is it easier to be a servant or to be a master? This way, Prayo Parmeshwar, the Pati, who's the bigger ideal for what? Who is Maharaj expecting more from? Bibi vallo keh rahe ja bande vaste? The Bibi just has to serve the Singh in a way, but for the Singh or the Banda, what Satguru Sahib Ji is saying, that tainu Parmeshwar banna pena. So these things of domestic abuse and stuff, they shouldn't happen in this context, and it doesn't really imply strictly to those contexts, because if it's got so bad, the Bibi is well within her right to walk away. She should speak up, because Sikh ne na anyay karna na anyay sehna ya. I believe all of these things strongly. The only thing I just said about our matawa and our grandmothers and all of that, I believe that they weren't weak. That's the only point I was making there. I don't believe that it was right that they didn't speak up, but that was the circumstance. You should speak up, Hanji.
Like, because they say equal rights and all of that for women as well, and if something bad's happening, that they should stand up as well. What would Maharaj still reward them because they didn't stand up in a situation, even though they have equal rights in that, where the domestic abuse and things like that are happening?
Those in today's age, I think Maharaj expects us to stand up to the situation, right? In those day and ages, who was those Bibinga meant to stand up to? In that society, who was those Bibinga meant to stand up to? Do you see what I'm trying to say? I understand what you're saying, Sikh ne zulm sehna nahi hega, and that's why those Bibinga are well. So from what I was saying was that Maharaj rewards that behavior, that behavior. I'm just saying it in the sense that if they did it, that said that we had Anand Karaj and we have a responsibility towards it. They had the prem and the prosen in Maharaj and in the institution. The Maharaj is going to reward that regardless. Maharaj would have rewarded it more if maybe they'd stood up and improved the whole situation. But we can't judge those Bibinga. I don't think we can call them weak for it as well. So, ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਸਮਝਣ ਲਈ ਹੋਰ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਹੋਰ ਖੋਲਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ think of it this way, Guru Maharaj ਦਾ ਤੇ ਸਿੰਘਾਂ ਦਾ ਰਿਸ਼ਤਾ, is it easier to be the ਪੰਜ ਪਿਆਰੇ or to be Satguru Sahib Ji? ਪੰਜਾਂ ਪਿਆਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਛਕਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰੀ ਸੀਸ ਦੇਣਾ ਪਿਆ ਤੇ ਸਤਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਨੂੰ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਛਕਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਸਾਰਾ ਸਰਬੰਸ ਹੀ ਦੇਣਾ ਪਿਆ. Who is the higher ideal for the husband or the wife? Who is Satguru Sahib Ji asking more of? right? If they've made a model for it, they've made the model so strict and so high that it's going to limit both anyways, and it's going to work out. So just have bharosa in the model and the institution that Satguru Sahib Ji has created. Does that make sense? Do we have any more questions about it? Right, okay, we're just going to move then. This is again, right, this is again, I'm going to, wait on like the penultimate slide, right? So, Je pir boh kar handana sat rakha nare. Benji, this actually relates to your question, because I kind of answered it from my buddhi, but my buddhi is nothing. It's what Satguru Sahib Ji, Bhai Gurdas Ji, Itihas tells us that sets the precedent. So I think this might help answering your question a little bit more, because that's made me think as well. Je pir boh kar handana, if your husband is cheating on you, and this is just for bibiyan, right? Je pir boh kar handana sat rakha nare. The woman should still remain faithful to her husband. Is that genderist? No, Hannah, because cheating on your spouse, regardless of whether one person is doing it, you know how we say, right, you're as bad as each other. Hannah? You cannot be bad as each other. Gursikhi has to continue in both. Hannah? Whether you remarry, you step out of that marriage, those are different gallan. But I'm on about it, because what's happening nowadays, the statistics are saying, you know, in these divorce, because one of the grounds for divorce in this country, there's a 3 grounds, I think, for divorce. One of the grounds is this cheating thing, right? But what ends up happening in court is where it all gets confusing is that, yeah, you prove one side's cheating, Hannah, and the judge can annul the marriage, give you a divorce, but then the other side's found out cheating too. Because that's the way that we're acting. You done it, so I do it too. But the ideal of Sikhi is much, much higher. That's for the Bibi, but don't think there's not rules for, like what I said for Singhs, and Parmeshwar banna. Appa sort sambhali sigi, like when we were 14, 15, that's when we started to understand things. 11, 12 even, I think, because kids are getting cleverer now. Hana. Guru Gobind Singh Ji must have been 6 or 7 when their father is having a man-to-man talk with them. You know, we might have envied the Gore at school, or maybe we would have laughed at them when they used to say that dad spoke to me about this, and we used to think, what's wrong with your family? But we don't have these conversations in our family. Sade vich Guru Sikhi, we don't even know, so we don't have the answers to give to our children, because we don't know, we're not educated in that sense. Not that I'm educated, but generally as a Panth, we don't have the clear, we have too much wishy-washy in us, and politically correct inside of us, and as a result of that, ਗਾਹ ਜਦੋਂ ਨਿਆਣੇ ਪੁੱਛਦੇ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ wishy-washy ਦੇਈ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ, and then what ends up happening, you cry when your children tell you that they become Kulwant and Sophie. That's what happens. So Guru Gobind Singh Ji Maharaj Ji nu Shri Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji ਕਹਿੰਦੇ at the age of about 6.5, 7, right? that ਸੁਧ ਜਬ ਤੇ ਹਮ ਧਰੀ ਬਚਨ ਗੁਰਦੈ ਹਮਾਰੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਪਿਤਾ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਹੋਸ਼ ਸੰਭਾਲੀ, when I started understanding things, they told me something. ਪੂਤ ਹੈ ਪ੍ਰਾਨ ਤੋਹੇ ਪ੍ਰਾਨ ਜਬ ਲਗ ਘਟ ਥਾਰੇ, ਜਿੰਨਾ ਚੱਕ ਤੇਰੇ ਚ ਸਾਹ ਹੈ, until you are living, remember this one thing. And the Shabad continues, and Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji actually says कि मेरे कोल ना when बीबियां, there's lots of different बीबियां that come to me, मैं उन्हां दा गुरु हां, मत्था टेकण आउंदियां मेरे कोल, है ना, but this is how I perceive them as well, कि निज नारी के संग निह तुम नित बढ़इयो, that with your own wife you can increase your love. And that word neh, and I'm going to say this because a lot of you, you're going to listen to our prachar and everything, and you're going to start listening to English katha. There is an English katha on contraception and all of these sorts of things, and because we're the eldest group, this is why I'm mentioning it as well. Gal that particular pracharak has taken, and a lot of pracharaks might do this, it's just because I've watched that particular video, and it's so, and that prachar layer, you might watch it, and there's nothing wrong with watching it, but you need to have your own head glued on. It's not what Sukhjeevan Singh says that's right, or what that pracharak says that's right. Thoda bahta apna vi, you need to have your babek buddhi as well too. So nij nari ke sang neh, neh da matlab hunda prem, to love. It's not about no physical action. Maharaj ni kade thanu iddan de kamma de vich paunde, hai na. We do that to ourselves, and that's a completely different thing, but don't bring Guru Maharaj Sahib into it. Neh tum nit badaiyo. Iddan da pyar, you increase love with each other, hai na. That love that we talked is born out of fear and respect. पर नारी की सेज भूल सुपने हु न जाइयो. सुपने दे विच भी, even in your dreams, do not think of another woman. That's what Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib, and obviously Guru Gobind Singh Ji, the one thing is that they're in a child's roop, है ना, so they don't have no विषय विकार physically in them anyways. तो दूसरी गल तो है भी गुरु ही है, they're not going to have any of it. So the ਗੱਲ ਤਾਂ ਇਹ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਦੇਣੀ ਸੀਗੀ, ਸਮਝਾਉਣਾ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸੀਗਾ. And the consequences, Shri Guru Granth Sahib Ji di Bani, they say you want physical, because everything that we want we get because we're the Ansha of Vaheguru. So think carefully before desiring things. That's why, when we do Ardasa, we say Gurmat Anusar Puriyan Karo. So if we have a desire to have extramarital or premarital relationship with someone, think of this, you want that, right? Maharaj will give you a relationship, they will give you a sambandh, but they'll give it to you in hell. And the analogy in Guru Granth Sahib Ji di Bani is a pillar of iron will be fired up, it will be made red hot, and then you will be made to hug it. Fir oh sambandh karna hai. That's what happens to you. And it's a bajr karat. So forget the fear of death. The other thing is कि Sikhi to kharj ho jana hai. You will not be, Maharaj will not be responsible. Like I was saying, Buddha's pointing at Jesus, Jesus pointing at Buddha. That's all right, because they could only save you to a certain extent. Anyways, Je Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj Ji to hi kharj ho gaye. You've done a bajr karat, then where are you going to go? What are you going to do? And finally, to finish off, right? Because sometimes we get into Gristi Jeevan, right? And that doesn't just mean getting married. Gristi Jeevan even means living with your parents, all of these things as well. You live in a family, right? And families have responsibilities. And sometimes those responsibilities get so much that you lose track of your spirituality. Jada Valmiki Batwara or anyone else that we talked about in the Sakhiya. But how do we do it? How do we achieve it? And there's a Shabad, it's a long Shabad, and Bhagat Namdev Ji talk about lots of different things. They talk about like how if someone's hungry, you eat something, idna prem karida hundaya, like a hungry, like how we say like Homer Simpson loves donuts, idna prem karna. That sort of idea of loving things. They do another one, Jaise par purkha rat nari. So take this as an ideal. They are saying that as a woman that is cheating on her husband, loves her husband, as a woman cheating on her husband loves her lover, in that way, aise name preet murari, in that way love Vaheguru Ji. So now we're probably thinking, how does that work? How does that work? It works like this, right? That a person that is cheating, and Dasam Granth, Charitra Jadiya, there's so much controversy about them, right? There's good Sikhya for us, especially for us Gristi people. Charitra Sanu Das, they are the people that cheat, they do everything to cover their tracks. Now there's so much because we're technological and deleting phones, then going to the extent deleting phone messages, this, that, the other, and going back to the phone company records. People go to that extent to cover their tracks. This particular Bibi is cheating on her husband, and what she does is she makes a packed lunch for her husband, she cleans the house properly, she does all the washing up, she does the ironing, she does the seva of her in-laws, she does all of these different things, right? And she seems to be like super wife, like the ideal wife. She's two things extra. And Maharaj warns about people like that seem like that. But then one day she got caught out. She was sleeping with her husband, and while she was sleeping, she murmured the name of her lover. The person that she was cheating on her husband, she murmured their name. Now the Sikhya from that is that she did all of those things in the day, right? But her focus, her dhyan and her desire was on her lover, the person that she actually loved. The world and the people here are false. And number two, 99% of them are not antaryami. They do not know what you are thinking. You do what you need to do to keep this gristi di gaddi chaldi. If you need to work, do whatever you do, but don't get so engulfed that you lose track of it. And like that woman, she had like her lover in her mind. You do all of these things, but at the end of the day, you keep your focus on your spirituality. So saying that I seek your forgiveness for all the mistakes. Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh.